Hey everyone, my name is the RetroDen and I want to get straight to the point. Risk of Rain 2. This game is quite something. So if you've been watching this channel for years, you know that I've posted a video on Risk of Rain 2 on the initial hours when I tried it. And at that time I had around 20 something hours in the game. But then 2024 hit. They have been releasing more DLCs, more content, and one of my friends DM'd me saying we need to play some more Risk of Rain 2. Not even the DLCs, we've paid for the game, let's play some Risk of Rain 2. And I said, why not? I've been indulging in a lot of games like Bloons, Warframe. I want to play some more Risk of Rain 2. And I don't know what it is this time around. I decided to delve more in depth into it. So if you don't know, Risk of Rain 2 is a roguelike. You play each run, you get more items if you complete achievements and more artifacts which can change the way how you play your runs. But every run, in my opinion, gives you more knowledge about the game and on how to beat it, either by defeating the last boss on the 5th round or by obliterating in the 8th round, which are different ways you can end your runs that have different meanings when it comes to the lore of the game. But this time around, and I'm already over 50 hours in the game, something clicked for me, and I have now started understanding how to play this game properly. And I can pretty surely say that this game is a masterpiece. Risk of Rain 2 is probably the best roguelike game that has ever been released. And take in consideration that I'm saying this at a point where people were just complaining that this game had some bugs due to the new DLC, and even despite that, this is probably one of the best games I have ever played. Risk of Rain 2 is a roguelike that has nearly perfect elements in every point you can take away from it. Gameplay is fluid. You want to play more because it feels good to play. The movement of your characters, the items and how they interact with every enemy and how good they feel when it comes to builds. Like every item and its purpose feels like it's working. You don't feel like you're crawling away at the game system to do some damage. Like once you get an item that does something, you can feel that effect immediately, and it's very apparent when something is doing its job. Like gasoline's making enemies burn and the will-o-wisp jars making enemies explode. All of the small items have such an impact on your run that it feels so good. That's one point. The gameplay. Movement feels amazing as well. It's so fluid. I haven't found, like all the other single-player roguelike games I played, none of it even gets close to how good the movement feels on Risk of Rain 2. But then let's take another thing that's really good. The lore. Go into one of the YouTubers that talks about Risk of Rain 2, the Grove Tender. He has a 40-minute video that explains the lore of Risk of Rain 2, and you're going to be mind blown. It's some philosophical lore, like out there, really good. They didn't need to do the lore, but they have been doing lore since Risk of Rain 1, and Risk of Rain 2 builds upon that lore, but they didn't need to do it. The game is good, but that's an addition. You have Dark Souls-like lore and hidden secrets in the game that at first you don't understand why they're there, but then when you take a closer look at it, they just feel so intentional. Everything feels intentional. Even if you have different tile sets, everything is there for a reason. Every map has a lore reason to be in the game, and it feels right when you know why they're there. And then let's bring even another point to complement that. The music. Probably some of the best music ever composed for what is a roguelike game. And I know there are a lot of good games out there with good soundtracks and roguelike games as well, but Risk of Rain 2, like specifically in stages like the moon right before you fight Mitrix, you know there's weight to that music and you feel there's passion there, and that place has a story and you're walking into something that feels right and wrong at the same time. Like, not trying to delve deep into the lore here, but you know, when you listen to that music on the moon, you can feel why Mithrix has so much anger, and you can feel like you're reaching the end of a journey that shouldn't even have been in the first place. And that's just me saying that and having felt that the game transmitted that to me. I feel that's just such a positive point. And I've been really addicted to Risk of Rain 2. I've played a lot of monsoon runs, and I've done over 100-minute runs with builds I found very fun to use, such as burning builds. I really like the builds where everything explodes without you having to do a single thing. I like AoEing. And once the game clicks for you and you have some more artifacts, you can really shape these runs to how you want them to be. And You're not forced to beat the final boss, you can always obliterate on the 8th round, which makes getting the Monsoon achievements, Monsoon is the hardest difficulty of the game, but you can clear it in a much easier way without having to tackle any really hard bosses, which in this case is Mitrix, the boss I've been referring to. But once the builds click for you, and you have things like the artifact, which lets you choose your items without them being randomized, you not only get the chance to play the game how you want and craft your own builds to make yourself broken, because this game isn't afraid to let you be completely overpowered and one-shotting everything in sight, which is really good, and it's something I appreciate from games like this and Vampire Survivors, which is another example. But when you get the chance to choose your own items, you also find appreciation in playing the game with random items, because then you have another way to challenge yourself again. So I had trouble getting to this point where I can have this artifact that lets me choose my own items, but now I'm also yearning for the challenge of playing the game with randomized items to see how well I could do with that, how good I can do. And I think none of the other roguelikes I played have an item system such as this that makes me want to come back and challenge myself. And another point of the game is the characters. Like, they're really unique. Nothing is unique about these items that make the runs differ one from the other, because the builds are pretty much very standard when it comes to what you're going to be building on every character, but all the characters feel so different that they make you want to try different stuff. And I think it's this mix of the items working so well and the characters being so unique that makes each run pleasure to play through. And I felt like I had to make this video because there's not enough saying that Risk of Rain 2 is a masterpiece. And this game having this very cool philosophical lore and all these elements I just spoke about so passionately to all of you is something that I want you to also feel. So please play Risk of Rain 2, buy this game, support whoever made it, and enjoy it for what it is. Have that click that makes you enjoy what the game is in of itself, and then explore more of what's online in terms of resources so you can get better at the game and enjoy it in a different light every time you hop into it. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoy Risk of Rain 2, if you have already played it or if you didn't. But other than that, this has been the Retro Den. I'm out.